Hello guys, this is me from future. What I realized is that I somehow managed to record the whole video was breaking and I had my fucking settings on of the VTuber. So I want to keep this reaction genuine. I really don't want to redo the whole video. So hopefully you'll forgive me and good luck watching, bro. Fuck me, bro. Okay guys. Welcome back. We're back with Bricky. Every faction explained part 2. Last part he talked about human faction. Hopefully here it's get a bit diverse. And without further ado, obviously, support Bricky. I will link his video in the description. Go like it, obviously. And now let's continue our Warhammer journey.
Part 2 in a two-part series on the Warhammer races. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, we do the Imperial
We saw it. You can look up on my channel, please.
of Man. You can check that out in the description, and I would highly recommend you watch that to get context for this episode. If you already have,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead and keep on watching. So after an entire episode of nothing but humans, we can now talk about chaos, which involves humans again, but a little bit less. We also got demons and shit.
I just
do?
felt someone grab my ass.
What?
Who is in my room?
Like hard, Nick.
So, as I've mentioned many times before, we've discussed the warp, the immaterium, the hellish landscape, the purgatory dimension realm between the material realm of our existence. Now, in the warp, it's terrifying, horrible, there are demons everywhere, things are crazy, all your minds and thoughts and emotions get projected there. It is both formless and
like his
empty.
legs.
It is vast and tiny. It obeys the laws of time and physics while simultaneously does absolutely nothing of the sort. It is a hodgepodge and a culmination of just unknowable, eldritch, horrifying shit. And there are 4 gods that permeate in chaos and the warp. These are the 4 major chaos gods. And if we wish to learn about
You know, like in the games Down of War, I always thought like, so these are like 4 gods, but I thought these 4 gods served the Ctan. I thought but I guess we're separate.
chaos, we need to learn about each and every single one of these chaos gods.
You know, I thought like if you take for example Darktide as an example, you know, they're like Nurgles demons, and I just thought, you know, it's just very different demons from each other. Like from in Dawn of War, it's like Khorne, in Darktide is Nurgle. So I thought they are from, you know, like they all are worshipping like different gods, but those gods also worship something else.
First up, we have Khorne, and he is the easiest. Khorne is your classic Satan. He is all about anger,
Best god, by the
murder,
way.
fighting, blood, guts, death. You ever heard the term blood for the blood god,
Yes,
skulls for
sir.
the skull throne? That's Khorne. The whole idea is that he is all about the fury and strength of battle. He doesn't care where blood comes from so long as blood is flowing. He wants to fight and murder and carnage and slaughter and death, 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 death. That is Khorne. Very simple to understand. Next up you have Tzeentch, and Tzeentch is the god of change.
So I think Tzeentch is like from Space Marine 2. I like them demons. What the hell? Tzeentch! I somehow managed to remove the black bars. Oh.
However, the god of
Tzeentch.
change, it's permeates in so many different other ways. He's the most eldritch of all the demon gods. He has this weird way to always be plucking at the strings of the universe. He's always conniving and scheming and doing his best to cause as much little bullshit
Basically,
as he can.
finance
Tzeentch is
YouTuber.
unknowable. Everything that makes sense, he will and won't do. Every future and setting and every type of destiny or fate is all foretold and also changeable. It is set in stone while also completely random. He knows what everything is going to happen and also that none of it's going to happen. You would ask Tzeentch a question. That question leads to 3 more questions. And those questions lead to the heat death of the universe, which asks 4 answers to those questions. And then he thinks to himself, what are questions even really? And are you even asking the questions? Or are you simply giving paths to answers and other horseshit?
This makes my head
Tzeentch
hurt.
is just I'm gonna fuck with stuff. He is yes and he is no. He is the understanding and he is complexity. He is unknowable. And that's what the God of Change is about. Very bizarre. And he likes birds a
Yeah, I saw those bird quads.
lot.
They're
I
super
don't know why.
cool.
Next up, we got Papa Nurgle.
He
Papa
cooking.
Nurgle, he loves you for who you are. Probably not. He will murder you just the same. But Papa Nurgle is about rot, pestilence, death, and decay. He is the end of everything. Him and Zeech do not like each other very much because
Why?
where Zeech represents change and adjustment, Nurgle represents stagnation and death. He is all about miasma and pestilence and large bloat and pus
Disgusting.
and,
Look
and
at this.
organs and people just
Booger.
being sedentary, sloth. He is the idea that everything will rot and decay and die. Nothing is certain besides decay
Very opposite
and
of
death.
Zinch.
All of us will end up the same way, and broken down through just sheer
Not me.
never-ending decomposition. So the joke that Nurgle always loves you is generally because of that, because we all end up the same. We all rot, and we all die and wither. That's Nurgle, and he's got a general theme of course, pestilence and different kinds of diseases and sickness and things of that nature. That's generally Nurgle. He's pretty easy to understand as well, and he chunk. Finally, we have the youngest of the Chaos Gods, and that is
I like when Bricky also censored himself.
Slaanesh, also known as the Prince of Pleasure or the God of Unspeakable Excess. Slaanesh is generally referred to with sex, but it's not
Okay.
only sex, it's just that's a good avenue if you want to make stuff. Slaanesh is just the idea of the senses of the body being cranked to not just 11, but more like 17. See, we'll discuss Slaanesh a little bit more when we talk about the Eldar, because they done fucked up, but it, or whatever, is
It confused why he mentioned the elders there, but I think he will explain
mainly
it.
about just the excess of emotions. And
So Slaanesh is like gender neutral? That's cool.
therefore, sex is generally a large part of it. However, it's mostly pain and torture. Lots of pain, torture, but sometimes sexually related or drug related. Lots of drugs. Lots of drugs. Slaanesh gets off on everything. Extremes in happiness, extremes in sadness, extremes in pain and sadism and masochism. And of course, that goes along with the sex part of it as well. It's generally referred to with sex because of the color scheme, very purple, lots of
I like
exposed
color
genitalia.
scheme.
A lot of their models
Very
have
good.
like exposed nipples and stuff. And that is generally the theme you go for from a physical side, but it really embodies everything, mainly pain and also the excessive amounts of emotion. So when it comes down to it, you'll find a lot of them have things like spikes or whips or any kind of BDSM style gear
It's for
because it
excess,
is
no?
unspeakable excess.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Prince
okay,
of
that
pleasure.
makes a lot of
Everything
sense,
in
okay.
excess to the point where it is just sheer frightening. That is Slaanesh in a nutshell. A little bit bizarre and a little hard to describe sometimes, but as we talk more about the Dark Eldar later in this video, you'll understand.
Dark Elder. Oh, I've been calling them Black Elder. It's Dark
Understand it
Elder.
far,
Oh
far
my
better,
God.
and far more than you'd want to. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone ever want to join Chaos? They all look horrifying, screwed up, and just frightening.
Okay, well, why would you want to join Chaos? I think the life in the Imperium sucks, so they probably the Chaos Gods probably give you something that will make you want to worship them more, let's say. That's
Things,
what I
right?
think.
Well, the thing is that, of course, one, your mind is put into the warp and the material.
Ah, so they basically, they don't, yeah.
So you can be easily swayed by chaos demons when they get
Okay.
into your head, especially if you're a psyker. Sometimes regiments of the less mentally strong people, whether they be civilians or say low-level guardsmen or conscripts, can be easily swayed by this and become chaos cultists.
I had that 28 losing Karam streak in a RAM. I'm basically, you have to be mentally stable to queue up after 27 lose streak to play that game again. And I did it.
Stuff.
I'm mentally
and they serve
strong.
their dark gods and whatever
I
god
can.
they personally refer.
I'm crazy.
However, and this might seem strange, chaos in their own right isn't necessarily evil.
What?
See, the warp is every manifestation of emotion and being, every soul, everything of existence. This includes all the good things. All the different chaos gods have another side to their coin. Khorne might be death, murder, slaughter, slaughter, but he's also got this weird sense of survival of the fittest, trial by combat, and honor. Khorne will never lie to you. Khorne will never stab you in the back. Khorne isn't about conniving and scheming. Khorne is about straight up mono, you versus me, get in the ring, we're gonna murder each other.
So, for example, if let's just say I'm Imperial Guardsman and I'm surrounded by like 10 orcs, and I know it's impossible, but let's say somehow I managed to kill 10 of them, you know, would technically that be influence of Khorne who
Hard
helped
right
me,
now.
or
May not be a good thing at the end of the day, but it is that other side of the
Or
coin.
it's just
Him
me.
and Zeech generally don't get along because Zeech is that conniving schemer, but he's also about the idea of hope. Where there is change,
again the same example with orcs, I guess. If I get somehow I manage to survive,
there's
does
change
that
for
mean
your
it's
predicament.
Tzeentch
There's change for
influence?
your problem. The hope of the galaxy, the ability to bend the world
Okay,
to
I
your
see
will,
now
the
why,
idea that your fate is not set in
think
stone,
Tzeentch
but in
is
reality
OP,
that you
okay,
control your
then.
own destiny and can control it whenever you want. The changer of ways. That is Zeech. And of course, Zeech and Nurgle hate each other because while Nurgle does represent stagnation, death, and decay, he also represents finality, an ending. The
Peace of
fact that
mind?
you can be mentally at peace knowing that you will end and how you will end. Fear of the unknown, fear of change is not present with
I
Nurgle.
guess, yeah,
With Nurgle, everything
If you know how you will end up, there's nothing to be afraid of, because, you know, we as humans are conditioned to, I guess, be afraid of it, but reality is if you already know what's gonna happen,
will rot and die.
You will
and
just
that
live
provides
a
that
life to the
finality,
fullest.
that ability that this is over.
Yeah.
We are all the same and we will all end the same.
Damn,
We know the
even
meaning
Nurgle
of
is
life.
cool.
The meaning of life is to live and die and rot. And with that, it brings peace of mind. Slaanesh is a lot more simple. While they are the excess of emotion, they are also the representation of emotion. Slaanesh embodies happiness. Slaanesh embodies excitement and joy and pleasure, not only in the sense of the physical, you know, bam style of pleasure, but also everything else like food and drink and air on your cheek and sunlight, the feeling, emotion and feeling. All of that is also represented with Slaanesh. So you have to ask, why are they always represented as super
Spanish is like probably the least. Like, I understand it's like really the first thing that comes to mind is sex, but I think that's like in the Warhammer world, that's like probably the least good thing
evil
you
skulls
can choose.
and spikes on everything and want to murder everybody? I don't really got an answer for
You
you
need
on
a
that
bad
one.
guy, yeah?
My assumption is that because mentally humans may think worse thoughts even if we don't act on them, and therefore they're projected in the warp more. That one's a little bit weird. I don't know. This is me spitballing right now, but I don't know. You need a super bad guy.
Yes.
You already got the Imperium of Man. You need somebody to be a little
Who
bit
the
worse.
fuck is this guy? He even in the last video he showed this guy what, and in one of the picture it said this guy is especially heretical, and now he's showing him again.
From them. So you got demons. Honestly, who cares? I just want to buy like a bird magician. Look at him. So cool. So combining all this together on the tabletop, Chaos Demons are generally very melee based. They run in, go really hard. You have lots of summoning and conjuring.
Oh, those manta rays are we cool, dude. They're so cool. It's so sad that in the Space Marine 2 game you were not really allowed to shoot them. They were like props, you know.
Tons
You
of
couldn't
spells,
really
generally a little bit
interact.
frail, but they have special saves to make them a little bit stronger. You've got giant demons and smaller demons. You got hordes of little boys and tons of big guys. Demons are as they seem. Demons. Nurgle is slow. Khorne is super scary in melee. You've got Zeech, who are far more into psychers and spellcasting, and then Slaanesh, who is all melee, really, really, really fast, but squishy, but in lots of hordes of tons of melee and pain damage, of course. So overall, the demons are a huge part of 40k and a massive threat to almost every single faction, with the exception of a couple. However, The big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the Chaos Space
Yeah,
Marines.
Space Marines. You know what we do, guys. You know what we do. Sorry, guys, this Town of War Chaos units. Yes, sir. My second favorite faction in the game. It's perfect. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, I had wrong link. Dude, they have like a lot of good units in the game. Obviously, the Bloodthirster Demon Prince are cool unit from Winter Assault. The best units is the Obliterator Squad. Dude, these guys must obliterate. Is the best unit in the game. Straight up best unit. I also like these bunnies. Call them bunnies. Yeah, cool units. Let's continue.
So Horus and all of his boys, all of them in the Primarchs, they have
Horus
all
boys.
also become Chaos Boys, and they all have their own special Chaos Legions, specializing in so many different things, just like the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death,
Sorry, I'm drinking
the regular
beer a
Space
little bit.
Marines. Chaos Space Marines
mineral
are a whole lot
water,
different than
not
the
beer.
regular Space Marines. They have the same armor, generally the same training and toughness. They just specialize in different kinds of things. And also a lot of the Primarchs have ascended into greater is it greater demons? They're demon Primarchs at this point. Gigantic, horrifying man-demon hybrids that are pretty awesome, if I'm going to be honest. They look really, really cool. But them and their associated legions that they are a part of are all kind of going out there and causing a large ruckus for everyone else. Considering the raw strength and firepower of a legion of Space Marines, imagine that entire legion just converting to chaos and immediately fighting you. It's generally pretty horrifying. There's a
played the
lot of them,
game,
so I gotta
agree.
write
They
them
are
down.
horrifying.
But you've got the Emperor's Children with
Whoa.
Primarch Fulgrim, loyal to Slanesh.
Look, there's a skin on his like pad. Oh my god.
These people, they are some messed up people. They're just sensory overload, tons of drugs,
You got a
tons
booby.
of torture. And I think Fulgrim is a demon Primarch right now, and oh god, I am terrified to see what that man looks
Those
like.
Slanesh
At least on the
guys.
tabletop, because Emperor's Children are not good people. You've got the Iron Warriors, which are kind of like opposite of the Imperial Fists, with Primarch Perturabo, I believe is his name. They're Chaos Undivided. They just kind of serve Chaos in a general
so they
aspect
serve all
instead of choosing
four.
one of the 4. But the Iron Warriors are big on the siege and fortification, and they're basically entirely against the Imperial Fists and are a
I like
major
their
rival.
colors.
Perturabo, I believe, is also still alive, and I'm also very interested to see what he looks like, because Demon Primarchs are badass. You've got the Night Lords with Primarch Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is dead, which is good because he's a sick fuck. But the Night Lords are generally about terrorizing people and terrorism. They're generally about fear.
Terrorists.
And rightly
Space
so. You've
terrorists.
got the World Eaters with Primarch Angron,
Bro.
still alive. Also excited to see. Angron, if you think you've known an angry person, Angron is the angriest son of a bitch you will ever know. Angron removed parts of his brain that didn't make him angry, so he could be angrier. Angron. Fucker's mad.
What?
You've got the Death Guard with Primarch Mortarion. They actually have their own special codex and their own major army on the tabletop. Mortarion himself is actually one of the models.
Mortarion.
And look at him. Look at him. It's
my
so
God.
cool looking. Of course, Nurgle based, obviously. So very slow
he's
but very
Nurgle.
tanky. You've got the Word Bearers with Primarch Lorgar. Lorgar is, I believe, still alive. I don't know.
Okay, so War Bears, I have my friend like many years ago gifted me these
What's up with him at
guys
the
to
current moment,
paint.
but the Word
I
Bearers
got
are generally
Word
the people who
Bearers,
caused all the major problems in the beginning.
figures.
At least I
I
blame
still
them
have
for
the
it.
box,
They're
need
little
to
assholes.
find
You
it.
got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus. Get fucked, nerd.
Oh, Horus
You've
died.
got the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alfarius Omega.
But look, it's like scales. It's like a reptile or dragon.
Gun, Chaos, I think. And
Not
then finally you've got
Chaos?
the Thousand Suns.
Oh my god, these are one from Space Marine 2 games? Even in the first part.
Primarch Magnus the Nerd. Thousand
Super
Suns also
cool.
have their own book, just like the Death Guard.
Terrible.
Magnus is also a tabletop.
That's an interesting place to place your horns.
Model. He looks super cool, as you can tell, and they're all super heavily Psyker and kind of Egyptian
Super
theme.
cool.
They look pretty neat. But overall, with all of these Chaos Space Marine factions, you can play as a lot of different ones, but the main ones that you can really work at are standard Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Death Guard and Thousand Suns, as they are the most fleshed out, especially on the tabletop at least. See this right here? This is a really good way to describe the Chaos Space Marines. What the thick-headed fools with their broken corpse of an emperor fail to understand is that not only can they never defeat us, but they cannot hide or flee or shield themselves from the triumph of chaos. They are finite and we are unbound, undivided. They must not err, or they shall fall to heresy. All who fall join our cause. Every imperial fool who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. They strive merely to hold back our fury and might, and it consumes them. Thus, you can see chaos is inevitable. We lurk not only beyond their grasp and at their gates, we lurk within the darkness of their souls, on the tip of their tongues, in their tortured dreams. We are them, but freed from the shackles of ignorance. We are them, grown strong, evolved. We are them, but so much more.
This is such a good quote. Holy shit.
As hardcore as that quote is, the saddest part is they're mostly right.
What?
Chaos is basically unkillable. You could probably get rid of Space Marines a decent amount, the Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah, because I thought everything that dies go back to the warp. But chaos is from the warp, so do they like resurrect?
That is, but every soul that dies goes to the warp. Every chaos soul will end up back in the warp. And depending on how hard you killed them, they will come back at some point. Every demon you banish will return at some point. Chaos is unstoppable.
That's just
the warp
broken.
is unending. And while maybe there is at some point some way to stop them somehow, the resources to do so, the requirements to do so, are so far beyond the reaches of man and the other races at the current moment that really it's just an unstoppable force that just keeps on coming and is just barely being slowed. Chaos is by far the biggest threat. They are without number. Their legions
So like even the Chaos Space Marines, when they die, they just will come back.
are
That's
everywhere,
so
and
OP.
yeah, they're pretty scary.
Not to mention, I think they're like how to say counterpart to the regular Space Marines. I think because they're like infused with some demon powers, I think they're a lot stronger. Oh my god, guys, sorry, I muted Mr. Bricky. Oh my god. Let's return back 10 seconds.
Is by far the biggest threat. They are without number. Their legions are everywhere, and yeah, they're pretty scary. So, I promise, we're done with humans now. Let's talk about some Xenos.
Eldars! You know it, I know it. I stole this quote from someone, I don't remember. Eldar. Okay. What? I don't remember. What is there? Dude, I'm so lost. Eldar. Let's do Soulstorm. So, I must say, straight up, I can't find it. What is this? Okay, I found. We'll use this. Genuinely, my first ever faction, my most favorite faction. I played these guys the most. They're most broken. You can do insane plays with them. By insanely good. All of their units are OP as hell. They are insane. By far my most played faction in Warhammer. Even their Fire Prism spaceships is so broken. Even their War Avatar of Cain, so cool. Again, why do we keep opening that? Let's return to the Eldars.
So let's talk about the
And girls.
Eldar, or also known as the Eldari, which are a super hyper specialized and very technologically advanced race of, well, elf people. They were, as well, responsible for the creation of Slaanesh.
They made a chaos god. Why?
The newest demon god. How'd they do that? Debauchery on a world-ending scale. See, back in the day, it was just Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle.
What is it?
And the Eldar are very, very ancient. Millions of years. These Eldar, however, have a bit of a sensory problem. You know, every kind of...
Dictionary, debauchery. Excessive indulgence in sex, alcohol, and drugs.
pain or feeling that you have is a little bit amplified compared to the normal. However, with Eldar, as their race advanced so excessively,
not only that, didn't he say like that they are psychic?
they became so self-reliant,
Something like
and
that.
everything became so easy. There was no requirement for food production anymore. There was no shortages. Everything was basically done. Everyone was so comfortable, and that comfort breeded this weird sedation, and that sedation breeded the requirement for more and more debauchery.
Debauchery!
Debauchery! Debauchery!
When everything you have can be so easily acquired, you will end up down this
Dark
road
Eldar, I
of
think.
pure debauchery. All of the senses the Eldar had that were so powerful, things like feeling, happiness, sadness, and just evil and good, all needed to be satisfied and satiated. And the desire to satiate these senses grew more and more with worse and worse debauchery. It started off with things like sex and drugs becoming so much more rampant because these are the first things you generally turn to when requirements for living are so easily
Makes
accessible.
sense,
It would
okay.
get to the point that made Sander Cohen in BioShock look
No
sane.
idea who this is.
All
Sorry,
right, this is the
Bricky. I
kind of debauchery
disappointed you.
it led to. It was constantly satisfying and satiating these sexual and sadistic or masochistic fantasies that only elevated and elevated, and this was species-wide. People started going down darker,
Harlequin?
more depraved, and more violent paths as time went on. However, some people didn't entirely take to that. Some of the Eldar were looking at this depraved species that they had become and said, no thanks for me, dog, I'm good. And they bailed. These are the Craft World Eldar.
Craft World.
They left on these giant continent-sized starships called Craft Worlds. They believed in learning the old ways of the Eldar and pushing away from this depravity and debauchery and going back to their main roots. And so they would segment themselves on these giant craft.
So, before I pause, before he goes too far away, so in Minecraft terms, the Eldar were people who were playing on a Minecraft server, and then they went offline, and some people started giving themselves creative mode. They started to fly around and fuck around, and that's basically the Eldars, and the civil war has begun.
Worlds far in the outer reaches of space. They even had this thing called the Webway. Remember what we mentioned about warp travel with the Imperium?
Yes, in game you can build portals. What I would do when I was playing against my friends, I would build these small portals in their own base, and I could teleport all my units into their base. It was
Well, the Eldar, it's
I love Eldar
way
so much.
safer, called a Webway. And the Eldar Webway is actually like a pocket dimension kind of thing.
So cool.
And in that pocket dimension, there were also more horrible, depraved groups and clans that would spend their time in there. And if you imagine the debauchery was bad already, these were debauchery X10. So all of this continued, and it blew.
So it makes sense. The people who were doing it became the Dark Elder, and the people who weren't doing it, like he said, they're
Loaded.
Craft World Elder.
Until Slaanesh just burst forth. All that emotion, all that mental, thought processes, I suppose, all of this in such a condensed space. Don't forget, this is all being shot, all their souls as well, into the warp. All of this depravity right into the warp. So what happened? Boom! Slaanesh was birthed and killed off 90% of the entire Eldar population. Untold trillions had their souls ripped from their bodies and their actual fleshy bodies devoured by Slaanesh demons. The entirety of the Eldar race was eaten alive and their souls consumed to the Prince of Pleasure. All of them got fucked up. It was so bad that it literally ripped a warp hole into the fabric of the materium called the Eye of Terror. That's literally this like quasi horrifying gateway portal from the materium and the immaterium right next to Cadia.
So can the demons come out from that Eye of Terror? Again, he said Cadia. Like,
and it is horrifying.
I'm not on
So this
joke.
Slaanesh, also known as She Who Thirsts,
Horny
by the
on
Eldar,
men.
slaughtered the entire population except for a couple. Those in the craft worlds were actually not affected by this as they were so far in the reaches of the galaxy. That crazy crack that birth of Slaanesh only affected the ones in the center. So these craft world Eldar were able to escape, but Slaanesh got their sights on them.
Damn.
Every time an Eldar will die, their soul doesn't just pass into the warp naturally. It goes straight to Slaanesh, craft world or not. What about those people in the webway? Well, imagine that giant birth happening, but they were only able to just barely get a grasp onto you. Slaanesh was just barely able to hold on. These people are the Dark Eldar, or also known as the Drukhari. The Eldar population right now is so massively small. It is minuscule compared to any of the other most of the other populations.
Listen, as an Eldar enjoyer in games, I didn't know that it was so bad.
Populations in the universe. The Eldar are consistently having issues trying to get their population up because as their souls are constantly being hungered by from Slaanesh, they realize their entire species is doomed. And they understand it very well. Since the time of the fall, our race has been haunted by what we, in our reckless pursuit of hedonistic indulgence, gave birth to. Though our dreams once overturned worlds and quenched suns, we are now but fitful shadows clinging to the edge of existence. All the stars in the sky cannot blot out the hateful glare of the red moon's eye. The birthing place of the great enemy pulses with all the malice of a demon that is dreaming, casting its shadow over all we have ever done and all we ever shall. Every twisted strand of fate and casting of the runes leads me to this time, to this place, and it is clear that the final battle awaits me at the ancient Crone worlds, a conflict the likes of which has not been seen since the Monkai warred amongst themselves and their corpse of a seer fell to his traitorous son.
Emperor?
Is coming, and all my steps lead towards it, no matter that I walk other paths. I see the stars stained red with the blood of the Monkai, and though their wars do not concern me, I would gladly let
We're calling humans
them
monkeys.
destroy one another. I know that to avoid this fight is to condemn my race to inevitable doom, and though all I see is darkness, I know that I will not flinch from my destiny. And now let's talk about cute plastic models.
Sorry, but can you imagine, like, that basically, they had everything. Everything. Can you imagine if you had everything, and then with a snap of the finger, sorry, I can't snap. No. You just lose everything. Can you imagine that? 90% of their population died. And we're talking Warhammer. It's like trillions. God damn. I didn't know it was so damn bad. I didn't know they made a god. They made a god. How fucked up is that?
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
Hopefully
The
it was
first
more.
playable race we have for the Eldar are the Craft World Eldar
Yeah.
and living in those Craft World starships I mentioned earlier. And each of them have their own kind of Craft World, almost like a Space Marine Legion. Each Craft World is in itself its own special
Each
kind
ship
of
is
group.
its
The Eldar
okay.
themselves are very fast and rely a lot on trickery. They are squishy, a bit weak, but
Yeah,
they're
very
very in
squishy.
tune as psychers. Tons of psychers across the entire Eldar population, and their weaponry and abilities are fast and extremely hard hitting, but of course rather fragile. Understanding an Eldar's brain is an exercise in futility. They are all over the place in confusion and trickery on a whole galactic scale. They fight weird, they think weirder, and Eldar in their own right really rely on this to keep their species alive. They need
Okay,
to
now
think
it
about
makes
deception
sense.
and the strangeness of what
They can't have a fair battle. They need to think of strat. I think even in game they're like very hit
they
and
do if
run
they
type
truly
of,
want to not be immediately murdered and slaughtered wholesale, thanks to their entirely small population.
Force.
However,
Hit
I
and
must
run
say that it
force.
seems like their population is getting slightly better.
Oh.
These craft worlds hold millions upon millions of people, and as they continually, reproduce
Millions is
and
not
have their
billions,
craft
Breaky,
worlds
but
expand,
okay.
losing a few people in battle, while hurts a lot, they aren't really losing what's extremely precious to them. It's not like every single death means the death of their species. It seems like they're kind of on the upturn a little
Okay.
bit. They're still a doomed race being sucked into Slaanesh every time someone dies, but they are definitely doing a little bit better than they were before. Eldar are fast, cunning, and what they don't make up for in tankiness, they make up for in extremely advanced weaponry. They also call humans Monkai, which is something I mentioned earlier.
I told you guys.
That is a derogatory slur for humans in the Warhammer world. Why is it called Monkai? Well, it's because you can't, in your game, call people monkeys.
I knew that. I knew that.
On the tabletop, exactly what I said. Not very tanky.
Okay, this is cool, but yellow and blue is like, I don't like this color combination. I don't know. I just hate yellow. I like blue, but they look
Generally pretty
goofy.
squishy, hit like trucks, and move at Mach 5. Fast, hit hard, die
Red ones,
fast.
look, they look
Exactly
better.
how it sounds. They've been good
But
for a
again,
very
white helmets, it's, I don't know. Even in game, like, their color scheme was so not my type, you know?
very long time, too. We bring only death and leave only carry on. It is a message even a human can understand. Eldar. So, Drukari.
Okay, let's
talk
learn
the
about
Dark
these
Eldar.
guys.
On today's episode of How Fucked Up Is Fucked Up. That's fucked up.
So those people I mentioned in the webway, in the super deranged cults and the depraved people of the Eldar, in the webway, they didn't quite get a hold onto them. Slaanesh like has them, but it has them on like by the pinky finger. And they're slowly being consumed by Slaanesh, but they found out they can stave her off
Oh,
by doing Slaanesh things.
oh. So basically, we have to do what Chaos Slaanesh demons do, yeah?
The Dark Eldar are by far the worst, most horrifying, disgusting, depraved, and brutal race in all of Warhammer 40k. These are entirely a group of people whose full purpose to save their species from extinction, to go into planets, raid them, and take as many slaves as they possibly can to torture them for 1, 5, 10, 20, a million years, because that torture will keep them from dying. They look very BDSM style too. They definitely have a lot more spiky bits and they have a lot more of that kind of leathery black.
We seem to go for like the same aesthetics as the Slaanesh demons. They use BDSM weapons, I guess, for, how he said, for excess.
Look to them. But let's say you are an upstanding Imperial
Me,
citizen
guys.
living life on a regular planet. You get invaded by the Necrons. The Necrons will shoot
Ah,
you
man.
with a deatomizer and you will be destroyed in a millisecond, and that's it.
I mean, that's good.
Not the worst
I mean,
way to go.
bad, but
You are invaded by Chaos Marines or something. You take a bolter shot to the head or a chain sword across your stomach and you get cut in half. Painful, but not the worst.
Okay.
The orcs arrive. They beat you to death. Hurts, but, whatever.
Neat.
Tyranids, they eat you alive. It's pretty rough. The Dark
Dark Elder do something worse than Tyranid?
Eldar. The Dark Eldar. This is going to get a little graphic. I apologize. You pray you die. You don't.
Oh,
you are
good.
instead taken as a human slave. Your
Aw,
life will
man.
be endless work and agony, 24/7. They will make sure you can't not die, as your pain satisfies them. They will hook you up to all manner of torture devices. They will inject pain-based stimuli drugs directly into your nervous system. They will slowly run razor blades across your skin. They will fillet you and pull out your teeth and your fingernails one by one. They will remove your appendages and your skin and wait for it to grow back so they can do it again. They will murder and torture and use the R word, it rhymes with grape, your entire family in front of you and do the exact same thing to them. You yourself will also be rhymes with grape anywhere and everywhere possible. And this will occur for 20 years until you are no longer satisfying to them. And then you will be contorted, crushed,
It doesn't
and twisted
end.
into some form of trophy, a fleshy trophy, or a ring, or a couch, or a TV stand, or perhaps a wonderful
Dude, for some reason, I had one. Oh my, I'm not gonna say
while
it out
you are,
loud.
of course, still alive and breathing, and you will become a moaning, fleshy trophy for
Oh, no.
eternity. And that is what happens when you are taken
And this is why in Dawn of War Soulstorm, I disliked playing these
by
guys.
the Dark Eldar. They are the most depraved, most horrifying race in all of 40k.
Yeah, genuinely, if you're again, you're getting raided by Dark Elders and you have a pistol to your head. Do you try to fight them or you just end it? I think I would just probably end it. And then a 7 feet tall Dark Elder mommy girlfriend comes in and I'm like, do this.
They look the part,
Do it.
and they
Take
do
me.
it so they all don't die. They are literally forced to do this, because if they don't, Slaaneish's grip will get harder, and they will have their souls pulled away. So long as they keep doing this, Slaanesh is like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing solid. You keep that shit
So we're basically stuck doing it.
up, you elf-eared bastards."
If we don't do it, we die.
That's the Dark Eldar.
That's
the
actually
Drukhari.
sad.
They are horrible. On the tabletop, they're actually kind of like Eldar, but more extreme. They are even squishier.
See, now here, their color scheme, look at it. It's beautiful.
Than the Eldar,
And I
but they
hate them.
hit
I hate
generally
them.
even harder. Fast attacks, skirmishers,
Okay, remember what I said about beautiful? I take
really
it back.
quick, speedy, get around them, do a lot of
Yeah, I
damage,
hate
get away,
yellow,
kind
guys.
of stuff.
I'm
That's
sorry, I
mostly
hate
the Dark
yellow
Eldar.
color.
Look up the definition of grim dark in a dictionary. You'll find a picture of the Dark Eldar, and Sev from Republic Commando.
No idea who
A
this
quote
is. Sorry, Bricky.
from Mr. Vecht. "We are the lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed." Dark Eldar. Let's talk about the Harlequins. Clowns.
So in Dawn of War, there's actually a unit, Elder have it. It's called Harley Quinn. So I didn't know they're separate Elder faction, because I guess I thought the clown lady is a unit of the regular Elders, but apparently not. They're OP unit. I love them.
The Harlequins are a bizarre race of Eldar. They're demonic clown performers. They're like a weird mix of Sander Cohen from BioShock and Jin from League of Legends, but in a more
Thank you for talking in my terms. Now I understand they are basically fucked in the head as well.
clown theme. They're artists of death and perfecters of their craft. They do not belong to Craft Worlds or any of the weird Drukhari people. They guard something called the Black Library, which is this giant
Okay, so I in the past I had them mixed up. I fought Black Elders and Dark Library. That's what I had mixed up. It's Dark Elders and Black Library.
giant tome of never-ending knowledge deep in the heart of the Eldar webway, and also guarded by their god named Kegorok.
What the
I believe
fuck is
how you
even
pronounce
that?
His name. He is the laughing god, but it's the Eldar's laughing god, and these are the Harlequins, the Harlequin clowns. These are Eldar clowns. Okay, so imagine the things that an Eldar, these depraved individuals, would find funny, and this is the god of that. It's a horror.
In Warhammer, it's so confusing. Even the elders have their gods, and I know I said in the beginning, like somewhere, that they have Cain, but I didn't know about this guy. Like, but clearly there's Kegarath.
Clown. These are gods of horror for us normal people. For them, they're like, oh, it's so funny. They're all dying horribly. Honk, honk. They're very bizarre and difficult to describe. They've escaped the ruinous powers of Slanesh somehow,
Ooh.
but their main thing is guarding that black library. And the
So these guys are not affected by Slanesh at all.
Harlequins just... They're demon...
So, let's say the regular Elder and Dark Elder let's get wiped out by, someone. And this guy manages to survive. Does that mean the Elders can technically reset?
Clown performers, they're barely any models on the tabletop. They're good at
The
melee.
models need a little bit of
They're
rework.
demon clowns. I'm not sure. I got a quote. It is too easy for an Eldar to embrace the obscene virtues of chaos, for Slanesh is nothing more than a manifestation of the Eldar mind in its most wild and unconstrained form. Human morality is meaningless to the Eldar, and to the dark side of the Eldar mind, all life is to be expended at a whim. Cruelty and generosity are but the impulse of a moment. Beauty and sensuality are virtues that can be expressed in bloodshed just as easily as in song. To an unfettered Eldar mind, there is neither sanity nor madness, but merely a wave of perfect existence fulfilled by its own savage momentum. They're very strange. Harlequins, Drukhari, Eldar, they are an anomaly that make humans seem completely easy to understand in comparison. They range from rekindling their civilization to horrifying murder and also clowns. They're all over the place, but honestly, they represent quite well and are rather interesting, especially with the whole
Didn't know
Slanesh
about
murdering
all
everyone
this
bit.
war, it's
So,
crazy.
yeah, Eldar. Now,
I don't know what this is gonna be next, but I'm not gonna definitely watching it now because I'm sorry guys, I simply can't. I have so much stuff to do, I don't have time, sorry. The League of Legends addict. I'm actually gonna play League of Legends. Yeah. So definitely a good spot to stop. Yeah, I actually learned a lot more about the Elders. I think their war is crazy. The fact that they birthed a fucking demon is insane. I mean, not a demon, a chaos god. I learned about Harlequins, but I guess we probably, I think Bricky leaves out, like, it's not very in depth. I wish we would learn more about the Harlequins and what they do. But yeah, this is insane. So for now, to me it's crazy. I love both of these factions, the Elders and the Chaos. They're like my two most played factions in this game. So what he told me in this video, it's so cool. Obviously later we can start and learn more ourselves. But yeah, I'm ending video here. Please obviously go support Brick's. Please support me as well if you like it, or if you dislike it, just you do you. Why you even here? I'm sorry. I don't know how to end the video, so I'm ending here. Ciao, cacao.